leaders. Well, for more, France 24's international affairs editor Rob Parson joins me now. Rob,
Hello.
How are you? Hey.
Hi.
Rob, now these two world leaders, they couldn't be any more different. How is Angela Merkel going to approach this?
Well, it's always an extremely important meeting, two of the world's most powerful leaders, an awful lot at stake. And there's been a little bit of tension between them since Donald Trump was elected president. He's made some fairly outspoken comments about Angela Merkel, about her policies in Germany, also about the European Union. She's been much more restrained. And what's interesting about this meeting is you could hardly get two people who are more different, whose styles of leadership are so different. On the one hand, we have Angela Merkel, who's cautious, restrained, intellectual, thoughtful, who's known to be very uncomfortable with the unpredictable. And on the other hand, Donald Trump, who is impulsive, some might say narcissistic in some respects, and very unpredictable. And quite how that is going to work, we don't really know at this stage. But what we do know is that it's extremely important to the transatlantic relationship that it does work, because both are extremely important. Angela Merkel has a sort of double game to play, I think, here, because on the one hand, it's very important for her to have a good relationship with Donald Trump. But on the other hand, she doesn't want to go too far. It's an election year in Germany. She doesn't want to be appearing soft on Donald Trump. She's got to play to her own domestic audience as well, and she won't want to make the sort of gestures that Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, made, for instance, when Donald Trump held her hand and walked for quite a long way with her. I can't imagine Angela Merkel doing that.
Yes, well, going back to what they're actually going to talk about in the discussion, among several crucial issues they're expected to address, two loom very large: NATO and relations with Russia. What can we expect from this meeting?
Yeah, these are, they'll be talking about quite a lot of foreign policy issues, I think, but NATO obviously is a very important subject. Donald Trump is going to press it. He seems to have softened his position has fluctuated, has to be said, on NATO. At one stage, he was calling it obsolete. He seems to have shifted his position on that to some extent, perhaps influenced by his Defense Secretary Mattis, and also to a degree by Mike Spence, the Vice President, both of whom have been going to some lengths to assure the Europeans and other members of the NATO alliance that he doesn't see the alliance as being obsolete. But there's no doubt that he does have problems with the fact that many of the members of the alliance are, in his view, not paying their way. Now, the agreement is that each country should pay 2% of their GDP to defense spending. Many countries aren't. Germany most certainly is not. It's spending somewhere in the region of 1.2%. Now, Germany has committed over the next 4 or 5 years or so to increase its spending by about 8 billion euros. That's a lot, but it still doesn't take Germany up to the 2%. So there's no doubt that Donald Trump will be putting pressure on Angela Merkel on that. On the question of Russia, again, this obviously it's a very vulnerable area for Donald Trump. He's come under a lot of criticism for apparently being soft on Russia, and there have been suspicions about why he's so uncritical of Vladimir Putin when he's so critical of other world leaders. And Angela Merkel perhaps is a way for him to get out of a difficult corner that he's found himself in. She has had years of experience dealing with Vladimir Putin. She's extremely experienced. It's an opportunity for him to turn to a world leader who's got experience and try to share it and to demonstrate to the rest of the world that he is serious about Russia.
And just very quickly, Angela Merkel's traveling with big German CEOs on this trip, and they're obviously going to bring up trade, I imagine, with Donald Trump. What's he said about that?
Yeah, trade is obviously going to be central to this trip. Donald Trump and his administration have been threatening imposing tariffs on the Germans. I think Angela Merkel will want to remind him just how important to the United States it is trade with Europe and in particular Germany, not just the other way around. Germany invests an awful lot of money, somewhere in the region of $270 billion have been invested by the Germans in the American economy. The BMW factory in South Carolina alone exports more cars than Ford and GM put together. Those are points that Angela Merkel is going to be making very strongly.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Rob Parsons, for that.